podcast. We are live for the NFL playoffs divisional round, and we're going to go through all four games. Tanner, obviously, is wanting the Pats to win this weekend. There's 8 teams remaining in the NFL in these playoffs. We have 4 matchups, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. And we're going to go through each game, give you the injury reports. Then we're going to go into the keys of the game. We're going to go through players we like in each game and maybe some bets we like in each game. And then we're going to go over some FanDuel lineups with you at the very end and just let you know who we like throughout the episode, what we think is going to happen in each game, who we think is going to win. And we're kicking it off on Saturday with the Bills at the Broncos, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Spread is Denver -1.5. Over under is 45.5. Now, as injuries go, there is not too much cause for concern. Maxwell Harrison possibly would have come back for the Bills this week, but he is out. Jordan Poyer remains out. Two big additions, I think. Ed Oliver is most likely going to be active. He was activated from IR along with Curtis Samuel. That is 2 pieces they need because 2 of their wide receivers actually went to the IR, Gabe Davis and Terrell Shavers. So getting Curtis Samuel is good for that wide receiver core. Ed Oliver is good for that defense who has been exposed in the run game. We're going to go into that later. And as far as Denver goes, they're relatively healthy. Dobbins remains out, and their safety, Brandon Jones, remains out until the Super Bowl. So let's go into the keys of the game. First, we're going to hit the Bills' keys to the game. I think they got to win the turnover battle against the Broncos. The Broncos lost to the Jaguars at home, a team the Bills just beat. They lost the turnover battle in that one 2-0. The Jags forced 2 turnovers. Trevor Lawrence took care of the ball. If Trevor Lawrence did it, I believe Josh Allen can do the same. And I think they're going to be able to do this, honestly. I have the Bills winning this game. I also think you should let Josh Allen and James Cook win you this game. Josh Allen is 3-1 versus the Broncos in his career. They won 31-7 last year at home. This will be a different crowd. I'll give you that. But James Cook provided 23 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown. Curtis Samuel, who they're happy to have back, 3 catches, 68 yards and a touchdown. And the Bills controlled the clock, controlled the ball for 41 minutes last year against the Broncos. They had double the first downs of the Broncos, 26-13. And I think if another key to the game, if the Bills can get ahead early and silence the crowd like the Jags did, Jags had a 7-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. They had a 17-10 lead at half. I think if you can get it ahead, it will be crucial. Josh Allen is 3-0 in Colorado in his life. I don't know as far as collegiate and NFL goes. I don't know about high school. He's won at Colorado State, one at Air Force, one at Denver, at Mile High. He grew up in college playing at Wyoming, which is the highest elevation stadium in the entire FBS, 7,000 plus feet. He played Air Force once, and theirs is the second highest stadium at 6,621 feet. It's right across from me right now. And then Mile High Stadium is, of course, 5,280 feet in the air. It is worrisome, though, and we're going to get into the Broncos' keys to the game, is Josh Allen's record. It passed the wild card round. And the Broncos' key to the game is to make Josh Allen uncomfortable. Even though I don't think he's going to be uncomfortable at elevation, I think they can wreak havoc with their defensive line. Their coverage is going to be lights out. They have one of the best defenses in the league. And I think if they can make him uncomfortable and don't let him beat you, it's going to be tough to do. I know it's easier said than done, but my goodness, that is crucial for the Broncos to win this game. Another thing is stop James Cook, stop the run. You cannot let the Bills win in the run game because the Bills are banged up at wide receiver. And that's honestly the Broncos' strength is their pass defense. So I think if you can stop the run, that will be key for the Broncos to win this game and win time of possession. They got killed in time of possession last year. Like I said, 41 minutes for the Bills last year. So I think the Broncos crowd is going to play a huge factor in this game. I think that Josh Allen being 2-5 past the wild card round. He's 6-1 in the wild card round. He's not good after the wild card round, so that is cause for concern. I still like the Bills winning this game. Tanner, who do you like in this matchup, and ultimately, who do you think is going to win the game?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the Bills do come out and win this football game in Denver. I've kind of thought that the Broncos been fraudulent all year long. One guy I definitely like this week is Josh Allen. He's my QB1 on the week. Bo Nix, not that high on. I have him at QB5 this week. Going over to the running back position, I think James Cook is a no-brainer in this one. He's one of the best running backs in the NFL, and Denver's run defense hasn't been as good as it was earlier in the year as of late. Now coming in at RB3 this week, I really like RJ Harvey. I really think he has a chance to shine. We know he's really taken over that role since J.K. Dobbins went down in Week 10. I mean, in redrafts, he was kind of a league winner for most fantasy managers. He scored 18 plus points in four of his final six games of the year. He should still continue that against the Bills. They've struggled against running backs all year long. I mean, their defense has allowed 18 plus points to running backs five times since week 10, including Travis Etienne's 22.6 points last week. I think RJ Harvey really has a chance to shine. Some of the other players in this matchup, I think that looking at daily fantasy, if you wanted to stack a Josh Allen with the Khalil Shakir, now we know that Josh Allen's going to be going away from Patrick Surtain as much as he can in this one. I think Shakir has a really good chance to shine with that opportunity. He's also coming off a big game last week, so look for him to get involved again this week. Both tight ends are at play. I think I would lean Kincaid over Dawson Knox. Buffalo has some injuries with Gabe Davis, and I believe Shavers is the other guy.
Yep.
Brandon Cooks, I would definitely avoid him at all costs, even though he will be cheap in DFS. And on Denver's side of the ball, really, I think all four wide receivers in this one have a chance to sort of make an impact here. It really could go either way. If you want to avoid Sutton because of his price, I totally understand. It could be a week for some of the other guys. You never really know in that offense. Sean Payton, he's really good at mixing it up week in and week out. But one thing he's definitely going to stay true to, which he has since J.K. Dobbins got hurt, is R.J. Harvey and that run game.
Yep. I agree. I think they lean on RJ Harvey here. I think both teams can kind of spread it out to their wide receivers. If Curtis Samuel is indeed active, I like him this week. He was a leading receiver last year against the Broncos. I think they really need him. He can make an impact in the short area of the field, crossers over the middle, him and Shakir especially. And yeah, Brandon Cooks. I mean, in DFS, if you want to get super contrarian, you can like try him just because he's so cheap. It'll save you money, but I don't know if it'll ultimately pay off, even though he was really good last week. Right now, a lot of the money's on the Bills. Um, for money line, 85% of the money is on the Bills, and 64% of the public is on the Bills. As far as spread goes, the public's got the same 68% on the Bills spread plus 1.5, and 67% of the money is on the Bills plus 1.5. So people are really thinking the Bills can cover the spread and win this game outright. Um, I think Cortland Sutton's the only wide receiver I would be super comfortable him and Khalil Shakir playing in DFS lineups this week. I love the running backs, James Cook and RJ Harvey, this week. And I think actually RJ Harvey is in the simulation I just ran for 100 lineups, he's the top running back of the week for all four games on FanDuel out of 100 lineups I generated. He was in 53% of them. So I like him a lot this week. I'm curious to see how Ed Oliver is going to impact the game and the run game for the Bills because he's only played like 100 something snaps this year. So it'd be good to get him back and see if he actually can help them in the run game. But that's we'll ultimately see. I mean, the Broncos have Pro Bowler or All Pros, first team All Pros along both lines. Like they are no slouch in the front seven and the front five of the offense. Like they can block. We'll see how Ed Oliver steps up in his first game back in a while. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Let's move on to the next game, Tanner, unless you have anything else to add.
Not really. I definitely agree on Sutton. I think he's the clear favorite for wide receiver of the Broncos. I'd even argue he's probably around wide receiver 4 this week, considering there's only 8 remaining teams.
Yeah, and no Nico Collins, which we'll get into that on
Hmm.
the Sunday games. Next up, Niners at Seahawks, the night game, 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday tomorrow. Spread is Seattle -7. Over under is 45. We have some injuries impacting this game more so than the previous game. Nico Collins, wide receiver, or sorry, I got ahead of myself. Sam Darnold, QB1, is potentially going to be out. We don't know yet. He's questionable. They say he's going to play, but how like what percent is he going to be, you know? So he's questionable with an oblique injury. They have their O lineman, Josh Jones, out, Elijah Arroyo, tight end, out. Josh Jones took over for Charles Cross when he was injured this year in 3 games that he had to miss. They won't have Josh Jones to back him up this time. Fred Warner ultimately ruled out for the Niners. There was some thought that he might be able to make a heroic return, but I think that may have to wait another week. Ricky Pearsall, Jacob Cowing, D. Winters, all questionable. Luke Gifford, questionable. So this front seven for the 49ers is just super banged up. George Kittle's out. That's big news from last week. Jake Tonges is tight end 1. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Niners attack Sam Darnold, knowing he's going to be injured. And let's get into the keys to the game for the Seahawks first. This is easier said than done, Tanner, but all caps, do not let CMC beat you. In their win earlier this year, CMC had 69 rushing yards, 73 receiving yards. Niners won 17-13 in Seattle. In their most recent loss to the Seahawks, the Niners the Seahawks allowed the CMC to get only 23 rush yards, 34 receiving yards. So if they don't let CMC beat them, I think the Seahawks can win this game, win the turnover battle number 2. The weird thing about the Seahawks is they're number 6 in takeaways in the NFL this year, but they're number 2 in giveaways. Sam Darnold cannot turn the ball over, and I think the Niners are going to try and exploit that, being number 2 in giveaways, only behind the Minnesota Vikings. It is crucial that the Seahawks take care of the football in this one, especially at home. They cannot give the Niners any sort of momentum. And then the third key to the game, let the running backs win you this game. We saw it in the most recent game where they beat the Niners, 171 rushing yards combined for both running backs, 1 touchdown, 59 receiving yards combined. And the first loss to the Niners in week 1 of this season, they were held to 67 rushing yards, 4 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. So if they can let the running backs take over this game and win them this game, that is a key for the Seahawks. Another interesting fact about the Seahawks, they're third worst red zone offense in the NFL, only behind the New York Giants and the New Orleans Saints. Jason Myers has the second most field goals in the NFL this year, and they've proven that they can win with his leg alone. But I still think if they can win in the red zone, that will provide them a better cushion to covering this -7 in this football game. Let's go into the Niners keys to the game. Then we're going to get into players we like. And first off, the Niners key to the game, you got to lean on Jake Tonges and lean on CMC with the wide receivers banged up. Ricky Pearsall is questionable. George Kittle, top target of the year, out. You got to lean on Tonjes. You got to lean on CMC. I think CMC could have 30 plus touches in this game. Both San Francisco tight ends scored earlier this year in week 1 when the Niners beat the Seahawks 17-13. Seahawks are not good against tight ends. You can get good value on Tonjes in DFS this week on DraftKings. And the last time San Francisco lost in Seattle, it was 2021 on the December night. Since December 5th, 2021, the Niners are undefeated in Seattle, including this year, their lone win against the Seahawks in week 1. The next key to the game is to force Sam Darnold to beat you. I don't want these running backs beating me. They beat me in the most recent game where the Seahawks won 13-3. They ran all over them. And I think the Niners just gotta stuff the run, stop the run game, force Sam Darnold to throw the ball. Their front seven is so weak, but they got it done last week. They pretty much didn't shut down Saquon, but Saquon didn't break any crazy runs. They beat the Eagles, the defending champions. Also, Sam Darnold is not healthy. If you put pressure on him early and get him banged up, get him feeling that oblique more so, then at the end of the game, I think it's going to get him all maybe seeing ghosts. Who knows? Control time of possession is the third one. 37 minutes. They control time of possession in their week 1 win. This also goes to leaning on CMC, whereas the loss to Seattle, they Seahawks actually had 37 minutes of time of possession. So both teams who have won this matchup this year have had 37 minutes of time of possession in their wins. Tanner, who do you like in this one? This one's going to be an interesting matchup on Saturday night.
Yeah, we'll skip some of the obvious ones, but I'll start with Brock Purdy. And I really do not like the matchup for him this week. I mean, he put up nearly 17 points last week when they beat the Eagles, but the Seattle defense is coming off of a bye, and it's held the enemy quarterbacks to single digits in all but one of their past 6 games. That includes Purdy's performance the last time they played in Week 18, where he had only 127 passing yards, a 64.9% passer rating, and a mere 5.2 fantasy points against them in Week 18. I just would not trust Brock Purdy in this matchup, not to mention all the weapons that he has banged up, including you, Ricky Paper Pearsall out there. Guy's made of absolute paper. I mean,
Yeah.
CMC is going to be the obvious play. He's RB1 without a question. We'll get into some of the Seahawks a little bit later. I do want to talk about some of the tight ends in this matchup. I think are really, really interesting, really worth a look. We're going to start with Colston, excuse me, we're going to start with AJ Barner versus the 49ers. Now, you're looking for a sleeper tight end this week. I think you should look at AJ Barner. He scored 13 plus points in 2 of his past 3 games, and a matchup against the 49ers is really good on paper. The Niners defense has given up 11 plus fantasy points to tight ends 6 times since week 10, including Dallas Goedert's 7 catch, 19.4 point performance against them in the wild card round. Another guy worth sitting, if you can't avoid him, is going to be Jawan Jennings. Uh, I know he scored at least 1 touchdown in 8 of his last 10 games, and he had a touchdown pass last week. But I would not start him this week in what is, again, a really tough road matchup in Seattle. Their defense held Jennings to 35 yards and 7.5 fantasy points in their Week 18 meeting, and only one wide receiver has scored more than 10.3 against them since Week 13. I know Jawan Jennings is maybe you're thinking about riding the hot hand, but I would beware of that this week. Even looking at the kicker in this matchup for the 49ers, I would not trust Eddie Pinheiro. He's been really cold lately, scored no more than 6 fantasy points in each of his last 3 games, including only 4 points against the Seahawks. Their defense has allowed an average of only 6 fantasy points per game to kickers since week 10. So I would not expect Pinheiro to rebound in this matchup. Now, going over to, the hot topic here, Sam Darnold. In daily fantasy, if you want to be cheap and you're looking for a cheap stack, you know, you've either got JSN at wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 this week with Puka. I think I have him at 2. But if you're looking for a cheap stack, I mean, Darnold scares me in the playoffs, but he should be able to exploit the Niners defense. I do like that. I do like Jake Tongus. Now, he's really cheap on DraftKings, but he's pretty expensive on FanDuel. Important to remember in the game that George Kittle missed in week 17, Tongus had 9 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. The Hawks' biggest weakness defensively has been covering the tight ends. I think he'll certainly be involved, and I think Brock Purdy will look to lean on him. And outside of that, I think that's about all I've got on that game. What about you, Brady? Who do you like? Who do you not like?
I like I like all the running backs in this game and the tight ends, like you were mentioning. I like AJ Barner. I like Jake Tonges. I like Ken Walker and I like Zach Charbonnet, but the question between those two is who's gonna get the ball? Zach
Yeah,
Charbonnet, I believe, has scored 2 touchdowns this year against the Niners, 1 in each matchup. And I mean, CMC in DFS lineups is a complete lock. He should be in every lineup. I don't care how much he costs. He's gonna they're gonna have to feed him the ball to win them this game. Now, Tanner, I want to ask you this question. The over-under is 45. Both matchups, first matchup 17-13, that's 40 points. Or no, that's 30 points. Jeez, I can't do math. And then 13-3, that's 16 points. And the over under is 45 points in this matchup. Divisional rivals seem to always go under, be low scoring, tight knit games. I kind of want to take the under in this one. I also lean San Francisco +7 because the only way I see Seattle covering this spread is their defense just wreaks havoc on Brock Purdy and CMC, but which they can definitely do. I mean, they're probably one of the best defenses, if not the best, in the NFL. Um, what do you think, Tanner? You think this one has potential to go under?
yeah, I like the under in this one, and I like the Zach Charbonnet shout. Honestly, I do like him against the Niners. Their middle linebacker situation is still really bad. Fred Warner's
Yep.
not coming back this week. Niners defense has not really been that great against the run at times this season. We already know that
Mm-hmm.
Charbonnet gets the goal line carries over Ken Walker, and he could very easily just straight up get more work in this game. I think for his cost in DFS, he's a great shout. CMC on it, I mean, scares me a little bit with his. I'm not completely sold on his price this week in DFS, just with how well the Hawks defense has been playing lately. I think it's a little bit tough to trust him at his price point, but without a doubt, he's definitely RB1 on the week. Just his price just scares me a little bit. But yeah, to
He
answer
is
your question,
expensive.
I do also like the under in this game. I've liked the under in a lot of these games so far throughout these NFL playoffs.
Yeah, it's been tight, and the weather in these first two games on Saturday looks pretty good. Just an FYI, they're both you know temperatures in like the 40s, 50s. No crazy winds. I think the craziest wind tomorrow is Buffalo at Denver. Denver's known to be a little windy, but 10 miles an hour isn't too bad. Shouldn't have an impact. Both matchups tomorrow look great weather-wise. Sunday we see a little more interesting weather forecasts, which are subject to change between now and Sunday. It being Friday night. We'll definitely know more, but Roto Grinders. Kevin Roth does a great job of providing these weather updates. If you guys Google Roto Grinders NFL, you'll be able to find them. Tanner, are you ready to go to Sunday and
Oh,
kick it
I'm
off
ready,
with
baby. I'm
with
ready.
your New England Patriots?
The 6-time Super Bowl champion New England Patriots. Heck yeah, let's go.
Okay, so Texans are traveling to Foxborough to take on the Patriots at 3 p.m. Eastern. Spread is New England -3. Over under is 40.5. Let's go over the injury report. As I was saying earlier, Nico Collins is ruled out with a concussion. Tanner, your Patriots had a guy clear concussion protocol.
Mhm.
Top cornerback Christian Gonzalez is going to be active. And that's good news. Big news that the Patriots will have their cornerback one and the wide receiver one for the Texans is going to be out. Another wide receiver for the Texans that is out, Justin Watson. He is concussed as well. Questionable is offensive tackle Trent Brown with an ankle injury. He was limited in practice this week. Some questionable tags on the Patriots side. Harold Landry, linebacker, knee did not practice. Running back Terrell Jennings, concussion protocol. He was a full participant in practice. They don't have any players listed as out for the Patriots as of right now. We'll see if they get Terrell Jennings and Harold Landry. But now let's go into the keys of the game for the Texans first, and then I'll go into the Patriots, and then we'll get into some players we like. The Texans' key to the game is their motto, swarm. You'll see this defense on Sunday will be all over the field, swarming to the football. This has been something D'Amico Ryans has instilled in the team, special work ethic and relentless mindset. I don't know how you fit the E in there, but it is what it is. This defense needs to win them this game, and it will be a strength versus strength matchup. The Texans are one of the top defenses in the NFL against the pass. They have four studs in their secondary. As we saw last week, they had Rodgers in a blender. And the Patriots pass offense is also top in the NFL. They are one of the top teams as a passing offense in the NFL this year. So the Texans, I think, can win this game solely from their defense getting to the football, forcing turnovers. Another key to the game for Houston is their O line needs to win in the run game, which is going to be tough to do. The Patriots have Milton Williams back. He made an impact last week. He was a stud last week, but if Woody Marks can replicate what he did last week versus the Steelers, the Texans do have a chance to win this game. New England is good versus the run, especially with their key players back in the lineup. Like I said, Milton Williams, there was a stretch there where they were not so good. They were missing some key players in that stretch. They're fully healthy now and ready to go. But Houston's O line just hasn't done that. The strength is towards the Patriots D line in this game. The strength, obviously, honestly, on both sides is probably towards the defense. But I would say the Texans defense is better than the Patriots defense, but the Patriots offense is better than the Texans offense. Speaking of the Texans offense, their last key to the game, CJ Stroud cannot turn the ball over like he did last week. 5 turnovers last week, and they somehow won the game. Is the last time to do that was Eli Manning for the Giants in 2007. CJ Stroud is going to be without his number one wide receiver. That's not good, but when I get into the Patriots' keys to the game, I think they're going to be able to execute them. They're going to have to lean on Christian Kirk, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, Dalton Schultz. It's going to be tough for the Texans. This one could be another low scoring game, but now let's go into the Patriots' keys to the game. And this is why I like the Patriots in this matchup. Drake May scramble drill, move the pocket, force them not to sack you, but they may have a spy on him. The Texans allow 9.2 yards per scramble to quarterbacks, and Drake May is number one in the NFL with 29 first down scrambles. If he can avoid taking sacks and getting third and long, getting those long drives, third and 10, third and 14, third and 6, third and 7, like you want to be third and 5 or shorter. It's gonna be a key to the Patriots to win this game. He won them the game last week with his legs on the ground against the Chargers. He was their leading rusher with like 60 plus rushing yards. And then the second key to the game for the Patriots on the defensive side of the ball is put pressure on CJ Stroud. Herbert was under duress all game last week. It helped the Patriots immensely. I mean, the zone coverage also against Stroud is preferred for the defense. So if they can run zone coverage, Stroud is much better versus man. He's top 5 in efficiency versus man coverage, 15th in the NFL versus zone coverage, and he has a QB 18 in passer rating against the blitz this year. So if they can put pressure like they did on the Chargers last week, they pressured Herbert 30 times and had a 45% blitz rate. The Patriots are above average in that category. They rank 14th in blitz rate in the NFL. And the Chargers, when they played the Texans a couple weeks ago in December, they had Stroud in a blender in the second half. They had a 40% pressure rate in the second half. Stroud only threw for 59 yards, went 6 of 10 passing, and the Chargers almost ended up winning that game. Houston eventually won that game, but it was close. And the last key to the game for the Patriots, get Stephon Diggs involved early and often. They are 6-0 when he has 60 plus receiving yards in a game this season. I think Drake May is going to try and lean on him if he can.
Revenge
Tanner,
game.
who do you like? It is a revenge game. Who do you
Stephon
like in
Diggs,
this
baby.
matchup?
Yeah, I want to talk about the game a little bit. Let's start off with New England's offense, all right, because I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough.
Yep.
New England was first in expected points per play, first in expect EPA per pass, and fourth in success rate in the regular season. Important to note that they were also tied for first in yards per play and second in scoring offense at 28.8 points per game. Now, our offense, I'm not saying our offense is bulletproof because Drake May did get sacked 5 times last week to LA. I mean, Will Campbell, he's got some work to do. He hasn't looked exactly the same since he came back from his knee injury in week 18. I'll give you that. Now, also important to note that the Houston defense has traveled like no other this year. They are amazing on the road. They're giving up, I
Yeah.
believe, 260 yards per game, 4.5 yards per play, 80 rushing yards per game, 3.5 yards per rush,
They're good.
179 passing yards per game, and with an 8.1% sack rate in 9 road games this year. They've held opponents to 17 points or fewer in 9 games away from home. The Seahawks actually were the only team to exceed 22 points against the Texans in their 9 road games this year, scoring 27 against them in Seattle in week 7. I I'm not even being biased. I think we win this one with ease. I think we're going to be playing with the lead. We're going to have time of possession. We will lean on Ramondre Stevenson, who, I mean, I'll talk about him, and actually, I'll just talk about him right now. I mean, his role in the
Yeah.
passing game has really improved. Yes, he's
Mhm.
got a tough matchup, but I mean, he's definitely worth a look in DFS. Great value for his cost. I mean, he's been catching passes, making plays, and getting into the end zone. Most importantly, if we're playing with the lead, I think we'll lean on him a lot. Now, does he scare me that he might fumble? Like honestly, pretty much every snap that guy scares me. But that that guy's definitely worth a play in DFS. I would look to start Drake May if you can. I think he's a great play. I really think that, I mean, he just puts on that cape, He just gets the job done. The guy is I've he's
Yep.
incredible. I'm at a loss for words over that guy. He's unbelievable talent, and he hasn't I mean, could have got rid of the ball a little bit quicker last week, yes. Cut, but I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't look too much into last week. It was the guy's first career
Yeah.
playoff start.
Definitely.
Back on Ramondre Stevenson, I mean,
Yep.
he scored 15 plus fantasy points in 4 consecutive games, including 2 with more than 27 points. Um, but again, to the credit of the Houston defense, they've held Jonathan Taylor, Jalen Warren, and Kenneth Gainwell to fewer than 9 fantasy points this year. Another running back or a running back I would avoid in this one is going to be Woody Marks. I mean, he was the hero last week for the Texans. He had 112 total yards
Yep.
and a touchdown, 17.2 fantasy points in their win over the Steelers. I wouldn't expect him to repeat that this week, though. I mean, he's been held to fewer than 11 points in all but one of his past 7 games. Um, I know the matchup doesn't look that bad against us on paper, but there's definitely better running backs that you could start this week. Um,
Mhm.
Stephon Diggs revenge game. Let's get back to that topic. Oh man, I
Yes.
know
Yeah.
he's failed to score more than 7.3 points in 2 straight games and 5 of his last 7 games. And again, back to the matchup. It's not very favorable, but I mean, and to elaborate on that, the Texans defense have held perimeter receivers to the 5th fewest points per game since week 10, and it held DK Metcalf to
Yep.
just 6.2 points in wild card weekend. This could be a defensive battle, so I could see why you could want to sit Diggs. I also kind of like the under in this game, but I can't look past the revenge
Yeah.
game, especially at his cost. Let's see here. Christian Kirk, he's coming off a big game. He could be worth a look in DFS.
See
Um,
Kirk, baby.
I think I failed to mention Woody Marks that he's not involved in the passing game whatsoever. That definitely steers me away from him a little bit. If I had to rank some of these guys, I think I would put Drake May at QB4 this week. Stroud
Mm.
probably dead last.
Who's
Um,
QB 1, 2, and 3 then? Oh wait, yeah, that QB4 is good. I think about it.
one is
You have
Allen, two is
Caleb.
Stafford, and three is Caleb.
Yeah,
Four
that
is
makes
May,
more
and
sense. I
five is
forgot about
Nix.
Josh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Josh
I
Allen
forgot
won for
about
me.
Joshy.
I'm excited to talk about that Bears game next, though. There's tons and tons of options in that game.
Yeah.
Looking at the running backs, I don't think that I would necessarily pick any of those running backs inside my top five. Just maybe DFS plays if you're looking to save a little bit of money there. Going to the wide receiver position, I've got Stephon Diggs at wide receiver 5 on the week, just right behind Cortland Sutton. And with Nico Collins out, I wouldn't trust
Wow.
any of the Patriots, or excuse me, the Texans wide receivers. Hunter Henry at tight end, do not sleep on that guy. He is, I mean,
Definitely.
he just comes in the clutch. When we need a big play, the ball goes to him. When we're in the red zone, we're looking that way. I mean, Hunter Henry, captain of the team, that guy, I'd rank him as high as tight end 2 this week behind Colston Loveland, obviously with the George Kittle injury, or else he'd be up there.
Yeah, I like him.
Um, I think that I would rather play the Patriots defense than play the Texans defense this week. I'd rather start those
They're
guys.
cheaper.
The reason
Cheaper.
why, I mean, we've stepped up in a big way last week, you guys. Held the Chargers to 3 points and sacked Justin Herbert 6 times. Like, don't forget about that now. And we're at home. Like, the Texans offense not in the best spot with Nico Collins unable to play. CJ Stroud is no stranger to turning over the football. I mean, I think we should post good
Yep.
totals,
5.
right? Last week, I think we should
Yep.
post good fantasy totals this week. I would move the Patriots as far up to defense number 2 on the week behind Seattle. Probably put Houston at number 3. And that's all I have
Yeah.
for this game. I'm really excited to talk about the Bears. But Brady, any further comments on players you like or don't like?
Kayshon Boutte. I think he's a sleeper this week. I think what the Patriots do best is attack downfield, and Drake May has been great downfield throwing this year. As we saw last week, he hit Booty on a deep throw. I mean, the Chargers defense, we like do not sleep on the Chargers defense. Like they are good against the pass. And Drake May still got it done. Sure, he had his moments, but like you said, Tanner, first playoff game, that's good to get under his belt. Another home playoff game against one of the top defenses in the NFL. I mean, this game's going to be electric. I think you get Hunter Henry involved, especially. I like Hunter Henry a lot as well. As far as the Texans side, I mean, some sleepers like Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, I don't know, Xavier Hutchinson, all three Iowa State wide receivers, all three, I think have potential to get targets, but that Patriots defense, man, it's no slouch. And if they pressure Stroud and cause havoc for Stroud, it's going to be interesting. I think what it comes down to ultimately in this game is which head coach, OC, DC is fully, which staff is prepared. This D'Amico Ryan staff is 0 for 3 in the divisional round. Or no, sorry, 0 for 2 in the divisional round. Or no, yeah, 0 for 2 in the divisional round under D'Amico Ryans. They've lost the last 2 years in the divisional round after going 3-0 in the wild card round. We'll see how they do this year. But the real questions are, can the Patriots be successful in the pass game like they have been all year against a top passing defense? Can Houston generate turnovers and long third downs for this Patriots offense? Can Houston even run the ball against the Patriots defense? I don't think so. And will Drake May be able to win with his legs? I think whichever head coach provides a better game plan is ultimately going to win this game. And I think offensive coordinator wise, I think the Patriots have a heck of an advantage with Josh McDaniels. And head coaching wise, arguably Vrabel has the advantage. Vrabel has won here before. He has gone to the conference championship game before.
with
He's been
Ryan
in this spot.
Tannehill.
He's been in this spot before. D'Amico Ryans has been in this spot and he has not passed this spot. But the one thing the Texans do have on the Patriots is playoff experience. This will be their sixth playoff game in the last 3 years, whereas the Patriots, this is their first one in a while. But
Uh,
they have a young group, a young core, and they have looked good all year. They are the number 2 team in the AFC for a reason.
That's fair,
Um,
man. Mike Vrabel asked the team at practice this week, raise your hand if you were playing at this time last year. Milton Williams was the only player on the team to raise his hand. Obviously, he's a reigning Super Bowl champion with the Eagles. Two things
yep.
I just wanted to touch on really quickly before we go over this game and on to the next.
Yep.
CJ Stroud, I don't think I talked about him enough. He has failed to score more than 14 points in 3 of his past 4 games, talking about fantasy
Mhm.
points, and that includes an 8 point stinker in last week's game at Pittsburgh, going off of those 5 turnovers you were talking about, Brady. And my
Yep.
New England Patriots have allowed only one quarterback to beat them for more than 13.6 fantasy points since week 12. I think you guys should also be a little bit thrown off by the over under in this game. I believe DraftKings has it at 40.5 for the game. So, they may know something that we don't. And lastly, with Stephon Diggs, here's an angle. The Diggs is going to be a free agent this summer. This could be his last
Mhm.
game ever for the New England Patriots. He's definitely going to want to make an impact. He usually does make an impact when the lights are the brightest. And he's got a revenge game this week against Houston. Just don't sleep on that factor, even though, the matchup isn't very favorable.
Yeah, it would be a heck of a story to have him go off against his former team, coming back from his injury
And then the
and
next week,
showing
do the
it.
same thing against the Bills, which he already did earlier this year.
Another revenge game. Hey,
Yes.
Hunter Henry got his revenge game last week against the Chargers, so that was good to see. Um, yeah, I don't have anything else to add on this game. I think this game's going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to be
Yep.
fun.
Start the Patriots defense, sit the running
Yeah,
backs guys. Going to be a low scoring game.
Stroud's probably the bottom QB, bottom of the barrel QB for me this week. I'm not playing him at all. I
Yeah,
I
he's
don't want to
8 out of
touch
8
him.
for me for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to touch him at all. But hey, the next game after this game on Sunday is going to be electric as well. The over under highest one of the weekend, 48 and a half. And I feel like this one definitely has potential to go over. Um, even though we've been talking about the under. So I want to go back to the Patriots game really quick. The
Hmm.
weather in that game, some snow pregame, maybe in game. And Tom Brady has mentioned before, Tanner, that snow actually helps an offense because it slows the pass rush. And I think that benefits Drake May more than CJ Stroud just because Drake May has his full core of weapons and CJ Stroud's missing his wide receiver one. As for this Rams Chicago Bears game, the forecast is it's going to be cold, cold, cold. The feels like temperature should be in the teens, maybe the or actual temperature in the teens feels like single digits. The cold shouldn't impact the scoring too much, is what Kevin Roth is saying on Roto Grinders. Some winds, sustained winds, 10 to 15 miles an hour, gusts 20 to 25. Um, I don't think winds are going to be too much of a factor. Kevin is saying maybe some longer field goals could pose some issues. But this game's going to be cold. Both games on Sunday will be cold. Now let's go over the Rams and Bears injury reports. As far as injuries go, the Rams have cornerback Nick McLeod out. Wide receiver Rome Odunze is questionable. Jalen Reeves Maben is questionable. The Rams, Jimmy Garoppolo and Dejuan Johnson are questionable, but they both will likely go. I think Nick McLeod is the only confirmed guy that is out as of right now. DJ Moore was banged up but limited this week, but he's good to go. So fully healthy for both offenses, it seems like for the most part, which is good. I think this one's going to be high scoring. And let's go into the Rams' keys to the game. Finish the game. Number one, the Rams have lost all 5 games this year on game winning drives late in the game or in overtime. You have to finish this team because the Bears have won 7 games this season after trailing in the last 2 minutes. Arguably the best fourth quarter comeback team in the NFL. They showed it last week. You guys saw it firsthand. Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter, bet the overs because he's coming. And win in the run game is number 2 for the Rams. Blake Corum and Kyron Williams need to get going, specifically Blake Corum. The Bears allow the 7th most yards per carry versus outside zone runs and have the 5th most yards on explosive plays. They also allow the 6th highest explosive run rate in the NFL. In since week 7, Blake Corum ranks 12th in the NFL in explosive run rate. If you filter to go to at least 100 carries in that span since week 7, Blake Corum actually ranks 6th in the NFL in explosive run rate, minimum 100 carries. The Packers did not get the run game going at all against the Bears, and I think that is the key to beating the Bears in the matchup. The Packers definitely should have leaned more on the run, especially when they had such a big lead. Third key to the game for the Rams to win this game: get pressure on Caleb and contain him as a runner. This is way easier said than done. Caleb has been great all year on the run. We saw it last week. He also has playmakers all over the field to get open. So it's going to be tough to contain him as a runner when he gets outside the pocket. But if you can do that, it will definitely help the secondary of the Rams, which has been suspect in the second half of the season. Now let's get into the Bears' keys of the game. Force Stafford, number one, force Stafford to turn the ball over. The Bears are number 1 in takeaways in the NFL, and they need to do that this week in order to beat the Rams. Number 2, trust Caleb to get the playmakers the ball. The Rams, like I said, second half of the season, they have been completely exposed in the secondary. Bryce Young was dotting them up last week up until the fourth quarter, where he ultimately couldn't pull out the win. But the Chicago Bears have a way better offensive coordinator, a way better head coach than the Panthers, a way better quarterback. Caleb is better than Bryce Young, in my opinion, at throwing the football. They have Luther Burden, stud rookie, wide receiver. They have Colston Loveland, stud rookie tight end. DJ Moore is a stud wide receiver. I just think that this Bears offense is way, way better than the Panthers offense. And the Panthers, in 2 games against the Rams, they've put up a ton of points. We've seen this Rams defense get exposed. I think Ben Johnson has the advantage. Let Caleb cook. And then the last key to the game for the Bears is going to be get Colston Loveland involved early and often. We saw it last week, what he did. I think he's going to be him and Luther Burden, arguably, the 2 rookies, get them involved. They're going to make a difference in this game, I think. Tanner, what players do you like? There's so many wide receivers in this one that I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. And Vegas definitely sees it as a high scoring affair. I think they've got DraftKings has the game at 50.5, so keep
Wow.
that in mind.
Okay.
I do like both of the quarterbacks in this one. We'll start with Caleb Williams. Been on fire over the last month. Scored 21 or more fantasy points 3 times in his past 4 games, including last week's 22.4-point game against the Packers. I'd start him against the Rams for sure, who have allowed nearly 21 fantasy points to Bryce Young last week, like you were saying, Brady. Going over to Matthew Stafford, and for both these quarterbacks, it's easy to stack either way. If you want to go with Stafford and Nakua, if you want to go a little bit cheaper, Stafford and Devontae, Caleb Williams and Colston Loveland's a great stack, especially with how Loveland's looked lately. DJ Moore has certainly made some big plays in the playoffs and down the stretch for them. Um, Romo Dunze, I get it. He's tough to trust, but he did have 6 targets last week after being out for 5 games with a foot injury. Colby Parkinson didn't have a lot of targets last week, but he did have a touchdown. But getting back on track here with Matthew Stafford, man, first of all, his year that he's had and where he was going in drafts and just the bargain of a pick that he was. And his statistical success has continued into the postseason thus far. He scored 22.2 points in last week's win over the Panthers, which makes that 5 of his last 6 games in which he has gone over 20 points. And the Bears defense has allowed 30 plus points to 2 quarterbacks in their past 3 games as well. Look for Matthew Stafford to continue his MVP campaign in this one. Let's talk about the running backs on the Chicago side of the ball. Really like DeAndre Swift in this one. Rams run defense hasn't been as good lately as it was earlier in the year. Swift's coming off 17.2 fantasy points in last week's win over the Packers, and he's now finished with 17 plus points in 2 of his past 3 games. Think he's a great option against the Rams that, like I said, they've struggled against running backs. Going back to week 10, the running backs have scored at least 17.4 fantasy points 7 times, including 5 who have scored over 20 points against them. Look for DeAndre Swift to make an impact in this one as well. Pass catchers, we know Puka's got to be wide receiver 1 on the week. Also important to remember Devontae Adams, who led the league in touchdowns. His numbers haven't been great in his past 3 games, but because he's only averaging like 10.1 points per game, but I like him to rebound in this game. Like we said, it should be a high scoring game in Chicago. Obviously important to monitor the weather in this one. And the Bears just gave up 15 plus fantasy points to 3 wide receivers last week. Romeo Dobbs, Matthew Golden, and Jaden Reed all had nice games against them. On the other side of the ball, we got DJ Moore. Guy's been sneaky good the last 5 games. 17 plus fantasy points 3 times. Now I get it. His floor in the other 2 were pretty low. But he's still a good option against the Rams. Going back to week 10, again, their defense has allowed the second most fantasy points per game to perimeter receivers. That includes allowing Jalen Coker to beat them for more than 28 fantasy points last week. Look for DJ Moore to make some explosive plays down the field for them. Looking at the tight ends in this one, we talked about Colston Loveland. He has scored a combined 60.2 fantasy points on 38 targets in his last 3 games. His matchup against the Rams isn't particularly great on paper, but their defense has given up 10 plus points to tight ends 5 times since week 10. I'm going to ride the hot hand rookie tight end Colston Loveland, especially at such a thin offensive position. I've got him at tight end 1 on the week. A
Yep.
a tight end I may look to avoid, it would be Colby Parkinson. He was a stud last week, right? Made an amazing catch for a touchdown in that game. He's
Ooh.
now scored 11 plus points in 3 consecutive games and 5 of his last 6. So while the floor certainly seems to be there, I'd look out for him against the Bears. Since week 11, just 1 tight end has beaten the Bears for more than 12 points, and only 3 have scored double digits. So beware of that matchup. Looking at the kickers in this one, Harrison Mevis, he's been
Yep.
on fire, bro. He's scored 12 or more fantasy points in 2 straight games and 4 of his last 6. Again, it's projected to be a high-scoring affair as long as the weather's not too bad. So he should be in a good spot to
Mm-hmm.
put up another solid stat line. The Bears have also allowed 2 different kickers to beat them for double digits since week 16. And defenses, I would probably avoid the Bears defense if I'm being honest. Just with some of the other options.
Yeah.
They
There's better.
They probably have the worst matchup on paper this week. I mean, Matthew Stafford and that explosive Rams
Yep.
offense. Since week 10, no offense has averaged more than 34.3 points per game or total net yards, 416.1 yards per game against them. Um, LA's also committed only 9 turnovers in that time, and only the Eagles and 49ers have allowed fewer sacks of their quarterbacks. So I would not fire up the Bears defense against the Rams if at all possible.
Yep. I agree.
Making sure I didn't miss anything. I think that's all I have for the players in this one. Again, guys, should be a high scoring affair as long as the weather cooperates, and you can really play
Mhm.
stacks on either side of the ball in this one in regards to both of these offenses.
Yeah. I think you can get super weird with it. Play Devontae and Puka and then play Caleb Williams. You can play and then you could even play Luther Burden and stack him with Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, stack him with Caleb, Colston Loveland, I like a lot, like you're saying, Tanner, and stack him with Caleb. And then you could play Matthew Stafford and go Bears weapons like Colston Loveland, Luther Burden, and then maybe go both Rams running backs. I mean, there are a lot of ways you can play this. I don't like either defense in this game. I ultimately think the Rams win this game, but I think the Bears can cover the +4. I think this game can be close, like a 38-35 shootout in the high 30s. I just think that it's going to be back and forth unless the Rams defense can figure something out and shut down this offense. But there's been no stopping this Bears offense at the end of this year. They've just been on a heater. So I think they're going to struggle both sides to stop anyone from scoring. Now, for the kickers, you might want to just be cautious about longer field goals. I mean, there's definitely some better options potentially kicker wise, especially on Saturday with the weather cooperating. Uh, Patriots kicker and Kaimi Fairbairn, Borregales and Kaimi Fairbairn, both solid options. But like Tanner was saying, a lot of points are going to be scored, so kicker should be kicking. Um, Whether that's field goals or extra points, I think it's going to be more so extra points, but we'll see um, how bad the snow actually is and if it affects long kicks like that. And we see them going for it more often on fourth downs or punting it instead of kicking those long field goals. It's going to be interesting to see how this game shakes out. Tanner, do you think the Rams or Bears win this game?
I'm going with the Rams in this one, taking the experience. I like
Yeah.
their quarterback more. I like uh, trust the coaching staff more. Sean McVay and them have been here before and done this.
Hmm.
I like the Rams in this one.
There has been rumbling that the McVay tree isn't too happy about those comments and the way Ben Johnson handled that Matt LaFleur handshake because they've got his little brother on the I think he's his little brother, I don't know, his brother, offensive coordinator for the Rams. So it's going to be interesting to see what Sean McVay does. I do think the Rams get this one. So just to recap, we covered all four games. Um, I've got, let's see, just recap the picks. Bills money line, Bills +1.5. I think they cover and win. I think Seattle money line, but I think San Francisco covers the +7. I got the Patriots covering the spread at -3 and the Patriots money line. And then I've got the Rams money line, but the Bears covering the spread +4. Expect a close, high scoring affair in that game. And Tanner, do we want to go over some FanDuel, maybe DraftKings, rostership values, anything like that?
Um, I can put together a lineup pretty quickly. Yeah. Um, One thing I did want
Okay.
to mention
Let me
super fast on the Bills Broncos game. I don't think it really needed to be discussed, but Evan Ingram, avoid him at all costs. One of the biggest duds in
mm,
fantasy football among tight ends. He averaged just
yep.
6.4 points, was held to single digits in all but 2 of his 16 games. I don't like him to pop off against the Bills this week, who have allowed just 2 tight ends to score more than 12.6 points against them the entire season. That probably goes without saying, but guys, do not fire up Evan Ingram at tight end this week. But yeah,
Yeah.
let's you want to make a lineup?
No, yeah, he's bad. Yeah, I just ran a simulation for 15 lineups. I can tell you who's the most rostered players real quick. So, first off, number one most rostered player is obviously Puka Nakua. Then you've got Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams. Drake May is the number one roster QB, is what I'm seeing, followed by Stafford. I think if you want to get super contrarian, you just go Caleb Williams and stack him with maybe the Rams' weapons to pick up the Matthew Stafford points and Devontae and Puka. And then you can, if you want to, maybe stack Caleb with Colston Loveland. If you want to get crazy contrarian, let me try that real quick. See if I can build this without. Okay. I mean, right now it's sticking Drake May in every single lineup for for me majority of the time, um, which is crazy. But he is the number one most rostered quarterback this week, and he is right now cheaper than Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford, but Caleb Williams is cheaper than Drake May. So, I wouldn't mind putting that together, but I've got Drake May, RJ Harvey, and then you can throw in maybe a Blake Corum from what I've seen. Puka Nakua, that gets you Puka and JSN, and then maybe you throw in AJ Barner. The hardest part about FanDuel is the values are way different than DraftKings. Let me do DraftKings and see what pops out. I think you can get better value on DraftKings than you can on FanDuel. Drake May is still the number one quarterback slot. James Cook, RJ Harvey, Christian McCaffrey, no doubt they're the top three running backs. JSN, Puka. I mean, on DraftKings, you can build a lineup: Drake May, James Cook, Kenneth Walker, Puka Nakua, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. And then you can go Jake Tonders and AJ Barner. That would be very interesting. A lot of these are Seahawks heavy from what I'm seeing, which is kind of surprising. But then again, the Niners defense has been prone to getting exposed. I think Drake May um, is going to be definitely. I don't know. It's not putting him as the highest owned quarterback. Or wait, yeah, it is. He's going to be the highest owned. Then it's going to be Stafford. So Caleb Williams is value wise. I think. What do you think, Tanner? He's got to be up there value wise for being as cheap as he is.
Oh yeah, I have him top 3 quarterback. I'd take him over Drake May just because Drake's going against the NFL's best defense this week. Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure why their projections are so high on him.
for the cost, I don't hate Bo Nix this week. I'm not starting Drake May. I'm not starting CJ Stroud. Josh Allen, if you can afford him. Um,
Yeah,
Christian
he's gonna
McCaffrey
be
and
pricey.
Kyron are obviously very appealing at the running back position. But I really like James Cook and RJ Harvey.
Yeah,
Um, obviously, with Nico Collins out and AJ Brown eliminated last weekend, Puka Nakua and Jason are gonna be big hot choices this week.
Devontae. Devontae will be
Um,
another one.
but yeah, I think I would look to
Those are
go
probably
with
top three.
top 3, maybe excluding Puka would be JSN, Devontae, and for the cost, I'd probably say DJ Moore. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said, Moore's very viable this week. He scored 18 plus points in 3 of his last 5 games. Rams have been
Yep.
awful against perimeter receivers. So it's a bit of a risk, but and then that tight
Uh,
end with Kittle out this week, tore his Achilles, didn't play much. I'm sticking with
oh,
Colston
just
Loveland for sure.
just
Um, I think if you're gonna go Bo Nix, you can pair him with you can pair him with a Matt. Excuse me, he's not on the Broncos, but you could go with Matt Prater because he actually has the best matchup among kickers in the A. If you're just looking at the AFC, Matt Prater has the best matchup
mm,
ahead of Andy Borregales and Will Lutz. So those are some players that I'd look to target in regards to their cost. Now,
some tight ends that are some sleepers. Like we mentioned Tonjes and AJ Barner. I like them a lot, both of them.
if you're looking for a lineup with unlimited, where there's no budget, right? I would go with Josh Allen, CMC and James Cook, Puka and JSN, Colston Loveland, RJ Harvey in the flex, um, Harrison Mevis at kicker, and Seahawks defense if I had an unlimited budget.
For my fantasy playoffs, I gotta figure out who I'm gonna play at the flex. But right now, I've got Drake May. This is step from last week, who I think is gonna make the Super Bowl. So that's why I picked the Patriots heavy. So I got Drake May, James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, and then wide receivers Puka Nakua, JSN, and Stephon Diggs. Tight end Hunter Henry. Flex up in the air. Don't know who I'm gonna go with now. It's gonna be interesting. And then defense Rams, which that's gonna be interesting as well. Because I mean, shoot, I think that game is gonna be a shootout, so it's gonna be it's gonna be tough to play them, but um, it should be a good matchup. But I think that's gonna do it. All I have on these lineups. On if you guys have any questions, maybe I'll tweet out some stuff tomorrow morning to kind of finalize some stuff for DFS. If you guys tune in, just give us a follow, and I'll put that out in the morning if I can. Just players like, players don't like, and stuff like that. Any final thoughts, Tanner, before
Go
we head
Pats,
out?
baby. Go Pats. And I'm gonna get off this
Yeah,
microphone before I say something about Houston I might regret. But we all know how we feel about that armpit of America.
the armpit of Texas, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think the Patriots get the dub. Um Tomorrow's going to be two good games. Bills Broncos, Niners Seahawks, division rivalry, and then we go Patriots Texans and wrap it up with Rams Bears for the divisional playoff round. So I hope y'all are ready. Enjoy a weekend of football. And we have a Monday football game as well. Don't forget the national championship, I believe, is Monday the 19th. If that's, let me
Yep.
make sure. I think that's right.
Yep. 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 You
Yep.
are right.
Um, so a weekend of football. Enjoy it. If you have MLK Day off on Monday, have fun enjoying the holiday and the long weekend. I will be doing that and watching a lot of football. So I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for tuning into the BA Sports Podcast. This one ran longer than I expected, but thought we had some great info in there for y'all for this week. If you're playing DFS, if you're playing fantasy football in the playoffs, and if you're just enjoying the playoffs in general, it only happens once a year. So the divisional round is going to be gone before we know it. Uh, Good luck out there. Hopefully, you get the dubs in your DFS lineups, and y'all have a good one. We'll catch you next week, say for conference championship weekend. Maybe the Patriots will be there in a rematch against the Bills, like I have projected. We will see. So, y'all have a great